All right, so good morning, everybody. This is question of the urban design here with the panel, Friday, November 17th. Today we don't have meeting minutes, so yes, we're going to go straight into project review. Actually, would you please introduce the project for the panel?
Yes, of course.
The presenters.
And thank you. Good morning, everybody, for being here today. Today, you're going to review the first of one of five TOD projects that has come to the city in partnership with DART. And you'll see these projects probably in the next 3 months or so. The project team has four efforts to challenge for the maximum public benefit, increase park ridership, providing new housing options, and including new alternatives for residents, transit users, and the surrounding community. Primary design considerations for this particular project included treatment, buffering, and flexible use, and blue-green infrastructure opportunities to be marking on. In addition, consideration should be given to creating a walkable development that maximizes the use and benefit of open space along the building and below the elevated dark structure. I'm going to pass it on to Kevin Spatt here momentarily to give you kind of an overview of what this program really entails. And if Jack Brzezinski joins us from DART, I'd say a couple words also.
Great.
Good morning, panelists. I'm Kevin Spatt, Office of Economic Development. Every meeting you see me sitting in the back, usually, sometimes you ask me to come up here, but I just want to take maybe 2 or 3 minutes to give you some context in this conversation, and then, like Arthur has said, you're going to see a couple of these come before you in the next few months. But this all goes back to COVID. This whole process started in the summer of 2020 when several city council members challenged the city manager and the staff to figure out how to deliver more affordable housing units to the city more quickly and to better, more effectively use city-owned properties, not only the city's properties, but property owned by DART. So that's informally called the 1,000-unit housing challenge. You see it in the media, that's what it refers to. There are 2 phases to this process. The first phase was 5 sites that were owned by the city. And then the housing department did an RFP for that process in 2021. So the housing department is moving on a parallel track for city-owned sites that are adjacent to several DART stations. But this is considered phase 2 of the housing challenge. And in 2021, in December 2021, we actually executed an MOU with DART. Hey, Jack. And that MOU gives the city the ability to market DART's properties for private development. And so in September of 2022, we drafted 6 RFPs with DART staff, Arturo and Planning Urban Design, lots of other city departments. We wrote 6 of these things for 6 stations. So those stations are Royal Land Station, Westmoreland Station, Hampton Station, 8th and Corinth, Lake June, and Buckner. So 5 of those stations are in the southern sector. The Royal Lake Station is the only one in the northern part of the city. Those RFPs, as Arturo said, had lots of criteria baked in that we wanted to see. Because again, the city doesn't own or control these properties. DART has their own things that they need to accomplish with trying to get private development on their stations. I should mention, Jack can maybe talk about this. DART's already doing this on 5 or 6 other properties in the non-Dallas area of their service area. So I think they're doing one in Garland, Addison, Farmers Branch, Jack? I don't know. Can't remember all the ones you're doing, not in the city of Dallas. Anyway.
Garland, Richardson, Addison, Carrollton, and then the 5 properties with the city of Dallas.
Okay.
We have 11 altogether right now we're working on.
So lots of things that the city and DART wanted to see in these proposals. But those were basically baked into 3 different sets of criteria. One was mobility. So DART has very specific needs in terms of how any private development on these sites impacts or doesn't impact existing operations. So how the bus get in there and get out, how they circulate, where they stop, where the existing parking and how much of it is actually retained or replaced by private development. How easily accessible is that parking to users of the station and not residents of the proposals? And so in June of this year, the council approved the selection of the most advantageous proposers for all 6 stations. And then we have executed what's called exclusive negotiation agreements with each of these proposers. And so that kicks off what will be at least a 2-year process and maybe a 3-year process, where we're going to dive into all of the weeds necessary to get these sites developed. It's not going to be easy. And so the panel's role in all this is actually really nicely placed near the beginning of this process. We're like in month 2 of this 2 to 3 year process, where the developers have been given everything that DART knows about these sites in terms of, surveys and environmental and topography and everything, all the encumbrances that DART has entered into on these sites over the years. So the developers have to deal with all the existing conditions, but they're also having to come to you. They're also meeting with the city's zoning staff concurrently, because there's gonna have to be rezonings on all of these sites. Some of them will also need to be replatted. Some of them have substantial, infrastructure needs aside from just the stationary facility. And none of these are ever going to get built unless we can figure out how to pay for it. And that's going to be a complicating factor because they are going to all have mixed-use components. DART is not selling these properties. They are going to be leasing the ground, and then we're going to have to figure out a way to structure the financials through that process. There will be a community outreach piece, so of course there's going to be public meetings associated with the zoning process, but developers are also sort of required to engage the surrounding communities as part of our piece selection process. So at the end of 2 years and maybe 3 years, hopefully we'll be at a point where all of these things will be papered up in very lengthy agreements. There'll be a lease agreement, there'll be a local agreement between the city and DART. There's going to be incentives at play, and so all this will have to be approved by the council and the DART board. And I'm optimistic that out of these 6, which is now 5, but that's another story, we think most of these will get over the goal line. So we're excited to bring you the first one today as a guinea pig, and hopefully you'll see the next. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Maybe a little deeper in your concern over how to pay for it. It's like a pretty straightforward, long-term ground lease. That's stuff done all the time. Either does it not, this project not pencil, with the incentive and with the ground lease and the market demand,
No,
we worry about that.
anything with affordability in it has a lower net operating income. So a lot of these areas are distressed micro markets themselves with no comparable new developments nearby where rents are untested. So some of the proposals do have creative financing mechanisms that have been offered up in the Public Finance Corporation or the Housing Finance Corporation, or even some very creative bond structures. And so those will have to be sorted out to see if we can even do that through DART's lease structure.
Okay.
Yep. And then good old fashioned city subsidies would probably also be part of it to also enhance not only the economics of the development norm, but everything around the station that, DART doesn't have money to do anything in terms of streetscape enhancements and all the physicality that's not the development itself.
Yeah, that's not really what we asked. So, okay. think there'd be enough, not just local, but other level incentives and thank you for coming forward with the idea that no, doesn't really pencil on you. Okay.
When you speak of affordable housing, what is the mix of AMI that you guys are trying to reach on these?
We didn't require anything specific. So each of these has a different proposal. Some of them are at have a portion at 60 or 70 or 80% AMI. I don't recall any of them have very deep affordability below 60. Require anything specifically, but the specific funding source and the program will dictate a certain minimum amount. So if we're using a PFC structure, there's going to be 40% at 80 and 10% at 60, and whatever else is negotiated. So that will be dictated more by how we figure out how to pay for it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got one quick question. Is there anything in the bond to address the off-site, contextual sidewalk walk? You mentioned Dark Knight.
Yeah, can't really speak to the bond program because there's been subcommittees and task force that have recommended things that may not be where we end up. The city manager is about to present his recommendations in 2 weeks. So there's nothing specifically. There's no TOD earmark or proposition.
I'm thinking it's more sidewalks.
Yeah, I mean, those are usually baked into the streets proposition or, yeah.
Any other questions before we start? No? Okay, so, yes, good to see you again. I had to disclose to my fellow panel members. Ron and I collaborated on a project last year, project in Florida. It's good to see you again. We had never met in person. Only online.
Virtual.
Only virtual. So, Bruno and team, our panel is made up of all volunteers. I try to tell everybody that comes to present, share their work with us. We're all volunteers. We have on the panel, we have engineers, we have historic preservation experts, we have landscape architects, planners, urban designers, and architects. So our role is to support the planning here at City Hall, to support City Council in the decisions that they make. Our recommendations usually are taken by the urban planning department. And so once again, we're volunteers, we're not paid, we're not staff, City Hall. With that, our intent is to make Dallas a better place, 1 billion at a time. So as we present your work, as we share your work with us today, keep that in mind. What you hear back, what you will hear back from us is feedback. Many times, folks in your position, they actually ask to come back for additional review because ideas that we share, that we brainstorm together usually benefit not only the city, but also the developer. Okay, great with that. Floor is yours. Thank you.
Sure, I'll get us started here. My name is Tom Gutierrez. I'm the lead developer from Servitas here. And we are happy to be working with the city of Dallas right now. We are a Dallas-based developer focused on the public benefit, which we have mostly focused in student housing for our history. But with COVID and additional things, the markets have changed somewhat, and we have pivoted into affordable housing. But we did not want to get into the tax credit type federally supported housing. So we're going straight to municipalities like Dallas that have housing challenges. And we generally target what we call the missing middle, which is 80% to somewhere in the 110, 120 AMI space with a tax exempt development structure where we use bonding and general support from the cities and other municipalities in order to create a facility for housing for the community and the local workforce that is restricted AMIs for the life of the facility. A lot of the affordable projects that get supported early on, at some point turn to market rate. This project will never turn to market rate. This is going to be affordable, for the life of the building. And as we talked about the lease structure, Servitas and the private sector will be involved during the debt term. And then the ownership of the facility itself will revert back to DART as the landowner. And DART and or the city, and however they work those details out between them with the lease, as we move forward with this project, they retain all of the residual financial benefits from the project itself. We, as the private sector developer, are not going to have a stake in the profitability of the project, which allows the public sector to define rents long term and make sure that it stays affordable and meets the public good long term. We are a straight fee developer, and we will walk away as soon as we are developed. And then you just have a manager that you work with on a daily, on an annual basis in order to maintain the facility correctly. So we going through the schedule is in the packet if you want to discuss it, but I know that we're focused here on the actual design aesthetics, and Bruno here is our lead developer. We have some other folks from Buzz Urban Planning here, as well as Carcon, which are team members, if you want to get further beyond architecture here. But Bruno's going to take it from here. More than happy to answer any other questions that you have.
Thank you, Tom. Let's have some fun. Let's look at some site plans. And overall, mostly we're discussing site plans, circulation, how we're activating the streets, existing streets like Royal Lane, Grissom, which are important that we enhance those, make those more user friendly. So we're going to put in condition. You can see in your package there, we have a vicinity plan showing the location that's right next to DART Royal Lane Station. Streets that are bordering Royal Lane, Grissom. We've got a bus stop on the northern end, as well as we've got a drive out for additional bus stop queuing areas along the light rail station. There's various existing conditions, for example, at the north east corner, we've got a bus restroom that just were installed for the bus drivers. There's also a communication tower in the middle of the parking lot that we're going to have to remove. And of course, we got existing curb cuts along Grissom Road that we're maintaining, so we're maintaining those access points to the parking area that you'll see in some of the site plan. There's various images here that you'll see in the package that help you kind of support. We may not have are familiar with the site, but for example, Grissom Road and Royal Lane are kind of our main kind of connection points from the street standpoint. And so we're going to see that we're going to address those over here in the next, which is our site plan. And site plan, so we have a building that is 5-story above podium. It's 102 units, about 83 feet tall, which gets us right under that requirement for the 5-story above podium height requirement. Our circulation, our building is located right here. You can see the building footprint. Sorry, it's so far away. But it's a U-shaped building with the 5 stories above grade. All the parking is underneath, so we're trying to maintain and maximize that parking. While trying to also enhance the perimeter of the site. You'll see that here's our curb cuts that we're talking about on Grissom. There's that restroom that we're maintaining in place on Grissom. And of course, as we move on Royal Lane, sorry if you see, we have we enhanced the area along Royal Lane with entry points into the residential activity center with a green lawn and a play area for the residents. And along Grissom Road, we've also enhanced that. And you'll see these images here. We created some seating areas and some sculpture areas that are contextual for the community, the Asian community that's there. And so we'll be able to enhance that with sculptures and kind of seating areas. You see in this location and this location as you walk along Grissom. So it's nice to sit, contemplate, and to beautify the area, because as you can see along that edge, it's very industrial. There's a gas station across the street, so we want to enhance that and make beautiful. And I think this project is going to do that. It's going to make that parking lot really something special. You can see some of the images here. This is the play area that's up here in the corner. And then, of course, this end here, we're going to do a perennial garden on this corner that'll kind of steal that restaurant, as well as the back corner, make it something really nice, which will kind of mimic what's happening with the art. There's a plaza on this corner over here that's existing, and it's for the Korean community, so it has decorative features like fences that have pattern shapes that are community based, and that is existing, and it continues all the way from the north and south here. So we're kind of balancing it out with some pretty old garden from this corner. Kind of highlight that edge. You can see here, here's that edge right there. So it's very concrete, very exposed, and so we're going to dress that up. So it just activates that corner a little bit more. And then as you move towards the bus stop area, which is going to be, we'll enhance that landscaping as well. And of course, here's that existing plaza that's on the corner. So that plaza is located. Yeah, so that plaza board located on this one. So from a rendering standpoint, this is that corner as developed. So it's an existing circle. It's got the like I said, the kind of decorative feature in the middle. So we would enhance it more with some benching, seating, so actually people can sit there. Because right now it's just kind of a sidewalk. So we enhance that a little bit more so people can enjoy that space. To improve the landscaping, while keeping things like the decorative fence that's out there. It's a special fence. We don't want to mess with it. We just want to enhance it, make it better. So from a circulation standpoint, other pieces we have in the entrance, essentially residential area. Our primary entrance is over here on the southwest corner along Royal and the driveway to the bus station. We have our activity center on that edge too, as well as offices for other pieces here. We've got our MEP and our trash are coming up with Griffin. As I mentioned before, we have the existing curbside off Griffin to circulate vehicles into the parking lot. There's also another access point over here on the parking lot, getting into those parking spaces as well. Let's see. So that. We go to circulation. Circulation points. So talk about the main entrance and the primary secondary entrance for the residential. Both have convenient access points to the light rail from these points, as well as people that are visiting or parking to use the light rail have existing spaces or modified spaces to be able to access this point through the parking and through that buffer zone that we have along the edge along the driveway, which we've enhanced as well. So right now that existing condition is very limited on this edge. So it's a little bit of sliver of landscaping. It's got that really nice decorative fence, which we're maintaining. And of course, there is a sidewalk there. Now what we've done is we've actually we've made kind of like a linear park out of it way. So it allows for the dog walking, nice stroll through the space. It's really a nice thing we've created. Buffers the building and it buffers us from, the adjacent spaces as well as the light rails. So from an elevations or a rendering standpoint, you look at your package. This is the main entrance to the building. We're not talking about the architecture of the building right now, but it's good to be able to see that project where it's important. So here's your main entrance to the building. I think it's used for that main entrance with some of the architecture is happening on the rolling station, some curvature of the use of architectural elements under, so we've enhanced that entrance to highlight it. So there's the main entrance there. There's looking down from the Art Plaza on the corner, down that linear park. And this is looking along Grissom Road, so you can see the sculpture garden and the seating areas along Grissom here. There's the curb cuts. Here's the plaza that we were just talking about. So I think that's a really nice enhancement. It comes down off the secondary entrance. A really nice place to sit. and also to circulate into the light rail station. And then, of course, here we have, this is also looking down the linear, plaza. So we have some little seating in this area. And then here's the play area we have by the rolling street in Grissom. So here's the play area and that lawn area. Here we kind of activated and enhanced this area with a nice little entry feature. So we made this kind of seat wall that you can sit at, and it kind of defines this entry into that lawn and that play area, and into the activity zone. Here's the perennial garden on the corner between Grissom and the bus station over here in the corner. And you can see one of the other little sculpture areas on Grissom. So I think based on the existing conditions, what's happening here is just night and day what we've done to it. I think it's a really special opportunity that we've done on Grissom to make this nice, as well as kind of enhance that activity setting, just a bunch of bus activity, really nothing else going on there. Of course, the plaza, the light rail, people using the light rail, and that kind of buffer, that linear buffer between the residential and the light rail. What do you think so far? With that? So yeah, the other piece of the puzzle is the landscaping. Our landscaping architect has also worked on a lot of the park stations. And so she's familiar with this station, and she's proposed landscaping that is already part of the property in the site. For example, at that plaza, there's a lot of landscaping there that has a kind of Asian feel that's similar to what she's saying in Korea or stuff like that. So there's some of these kind of Asian feel kind of plants that she's proposing in more in that space. So you'll see some of that imagery over here on the board. The parts be things like the benches that we'll be doing in the plazas, as well as in that lawn area. And we have in the park, sorry, the playground. We have some playground equipment, so we'll have some areas for the kids to play on. So it'll enhance and activate that state street. This should be a really nice buffer. Right now, it's busy. There's a couple pine trees on it, and catcher power poles. And now we've taken this and created this nice buffer, kind of a park in front of it. And so that is it. Here's some of the imagery of that fence. Rolling. So it's very decorative and it's special. So the last thing we want to do is remove it, or try to alter it in a way that something that's already occurred that people enjoy. We want to make sure that we're carrying that through. Any questions so far?
The box.
Well,
Whenever you're ready.
no questions during, regarding the presentation, are you finished?
Well, in some of the package, we didn't create a board list because we were doing our boards, but you also see we have some engineering documents in there. So we looked at drainage, we looked at the existing conditions out there. So we have a deep, there's a water main running through the site that we're going to have to address, and it's really just feeding the fire hydrants. So we'll have to relocate that and divert it. But there's going to connect the residential building and the existing drainage systems out there. So we have to alter it because we're parking to make that happen. You see that in the drainage plan as well. There's other documents in the role, for example, like the existing conditions for landscaping. And you can see that we went out and looked at the existing conditions up there to understand what was good and what was bad. And for example, some of the trees out on the site, they're in bad shape. The more replacement something that's better or equal to make sure that we're going in the right direction. All that kind of stuff along the edge of the building, as well as internally. We have places for people to sit in the parking areas.
Okay, thank you, Bruno. Thank you. Sorry, I missed your name.
Tom Gutierrez.
So the way we're going to do this is we'll first ask questions to clarify what you shared with us. And after that, we will offer feedback. Good, perfect. All right, and we should have lots of questions, right?
Questions are great.
Questions are great. We love it. Why don't we start with Norman?
Oh. Okay. A couple things. So one, maybe I missed it earlier, when you said we're not talking about the architecture right now. So that building isn't real? That's what placeholders for an apartment complex there?
So the, I believe our discussion today was really about site circulation, pedestrian movement, how the site reacts to the overall adjacent properties, circulation to the rolling, how we're enhancing the street. The architecture is important. This building is real. It's designed to fit the program.
Okay,
So, but the reason why we're showing the architecture is it does relate to the site. There's important things like connectivity, the circulation, of course, where you can see the frontage. It allows a backdrop of context, what you're seeing on the streets.
well, and I asked because maybe you just brought us the site plan and the connection, but I thought it was urban design. And that very much includes the third dimension of the buildings that are part of this urban design. So is that not on the table today?
It is.
It is on the table today. Okay.
So they,
And we submit the packet, we do have elevations. And
Yes.
So, we also have the control also in the back of the room, right, to highlighting the further areas, but also shows all the different views.
Right.
Of the product. If you have any questions about the architecture,
Man, I don't have no questions about that, somebody. I'm gonna focus for taking my question on the larger area plan that you don't have a board you have in front of us. So a question, 2 blocks to the east of this site is something that is undeveloped.
Correct.
And I know this neighborhood, I know this area well, but not to the building specific level, just the general perception of what it's like, which is pretty dreadful in a lot of ways, very industrial. What is that undeveloped?
That is, I believe that linear property is supposed to be further residential.
There is another developer that is doing a light site before the project in northern Internet.
Okay, so that is a projected residential development in the future.
yeah, I just looked online, it says it's for sale for multifamily retail.
Okay, is there, I don't see anything else on this plan that looks like it might be residential or secondary. Is that a fair assessment
Yes.
of this? Because again, a lot of times when we talk about, the urban design, component, particularly when we get a project that may be the bell cow for that kind of new development in an area, that makes a difference in the way we, in our expected approach to the project comments that we have. It looks to me like perhaps we don't have, except for that other property, that we may not have any other things like that. Are there residential support services anywhere in this area? Is there a grocery store and things?
Do you recall the H Mart that this panel saw a couple months ago? Yeah, that is about 500 feet to the west.
Okay,
There's also a
there it
convenience.
is. Good. Okay. Okay, good. Those are the kind of things that, okay, those are my questions. Yeah, thank you. All right. Trying to get there.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify, so the fencing, is that going around the entire property or just in select specific locations?
So it wraps around the plaza,
Uh-huh.
and it comes along the edge here, so we maintain that distance, but it does run or maintain that. So
Okay.
all the way down to the edge. We may have the opportunity for the sculpture areas that you see here, so we're just showing a placeholder. The idea is you have these seating areas, with this opportunity to put some kind of, but it could also be part of that fence, you can put a little bit of that fence in there with the landscaping backdrop, so there's lots of, potentials to carry that decorative element over here on Griffin as well.
But currently it's on the west side.
It's only on the west side right now.
And it's meant as a security measure?
No, well, it does funnel traffic, so there's a benefit to it.
Okay.
So it's decorative and it does maintain the access to the whole thing.
We have the site plan, existing plan.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell. Yes.
Okay.
So edge here,
Got it.
and then this is a large sidewalk that cuts through. So it's broken, there's certain breaks where you're allowed to walk.
Right.
It does people,
Pedestrians to hold us down for the cross.
Yeah.
it does, people transfer the planes and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
agreement. Feel free to pull these up and bring them up to the table. It's easier.
Sorry.
Yeah,
If you can't see, please let me know if I'm standing in front.
I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I wanted to ask it anyway. Is there any opportunity to turn this into a mixed use project?
So putting retail down on the ground level. Right now we have an active area for the things to kind of create more.
But it like retail specific?
Yeah, so could there be some retail down there? It's a little tighter in space, so you can. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
This is what we have produced.
Yeah.
The operation cost is very low on, public playground, which is exactly what we have. And that kept our past, support low.
Okay.
If we want to go bigger, that's an option, it just needs to be figured out.
So let follow up to that question. Help us understand. You say, yes, we can add different type of program, but it costs money.
Yes.
Obviously. Then you decided, and on your bid, that the right term, you decided not to include other uses to keep your ask low. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we went through during our concept development was ideally we wanted it to be a full daycare center. And I talked with Jack about that, and I think Darth would really appreciate that. The whole facility that we have in concept right now is focused on the families. We don't have an actual market study that we produced for food resale, but we wanted to focus on families. So we have all three bedrooms, right?
Yes.
And that means there's kids, right? And focused on transit-oriented development, parents working, having a daycare would be, I think, ideal.
Yeah.
The operational costs of that mean that maybe we couldn't do that. So in our original proposal, we pulled the scope back a little bit more to take out the operational costs that we asked for.
So was it negotiated from the original, or you decided to take it up?
We decided that.
You decided to take it up. Okay.
We can expand, but we're working with the Office of Economic Development.
I would say the city's RFP did not require mixed use.
Sure.
It required mixed income housing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this is a housing challenge. So not every market or sub-market or micro market can support mixed use. It's very location specific, as you know. So we've talked to them about having, the building having the ability to be used for commercial purposes when the market may, if it ever ripens for that. But at this point, our job is to negotiate and find a way to get housing on the site. So it's a nice to have at this point for ground commercial.
I'd say also that, this dimension here is relevant and funnel down. If you're trying to important factor of creating that community space, for daycare and stuff like that, I think is a moral priority. Plus, enhancing this. Because you already have a corridor that's very industrial, commercial.
Yeah.
It's got the convenience store, it's got the grocery store down the street. So why more of that?
Yeah, but it's-
I'm sorry, that can't really support it. But you try to soften it.
Okay, all right, thanks. Any other?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think, sorry, I'm with Servitex, and also, the public benefit, everything started out. What is, the design program that we started, okay, we have the surface parking that we have to optimize for the dark ridership for the project, and so we have to see we mentioned earlier is creating affordable housing. So if we bring a commercial component, then it's what is the demand on parking there. So to try to keep everything with the surface parking criteria, then if we bring surface, we can't do structural parking, everything just offsets everything. So that is how we kind of as a public benefit, what is it is affordable housing. So how can we maximize this side, giving the DART what they need and preserve, and what we need to get to the city of Dallas to fill that gap.
All right, and since you touched on parking, I know that Mark, you have a question, but since you mentioned parking, my question, Mike, to you is, we see that you kept generally get the existing layout of parking, of the parking lot.
Sometimes, yes.
And, and why is that? I understand, I assume cost, but how does the agreement work? Are the developers responsible for parking redevelopment or rebuilding, reconstruction? Who owns it, who operates it? And essentially, why did we keep the existing layout? We removed some of the parking space, of course we have to, but why that?
Okay,
What's right?
so I'm gonna give you the official answer, and then everything is still being negotiated, and Jack will even speak to this, but the RFP says that there's 221 spaces out there now. The RFP says, and this is DART's requirement, that there must be a retainer or a replacement of the average usage of that based on their data, which was 23% of that lot was being used on a daily basis. I think that was pre-COVID, and Jack may help me on that. So in the RFP, it says, if you're gonna do this, you've gotta give back or replace 23% of what's already out there. So that was their task. So what you see there is their attempt to do that in a way that makes sense economically and physically and everything else. Now, part of the discussion, now a month ago, we started to talk about the zoning. This site is zoned industrial.
Yeah.
So it's gonna have to be rezoned.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about ways to reduce parking requirements, but also get enough out there that Jack and Darth is happy with it. So now we're starting the nitty gritty details, but what you're seeing here is their response to the RFP.
Excellent, thank you. Mark. Or Maria.
Okay, I'll go. So the fence, going back to the fence, I understand that the existing fence is over there, and I think there should, that's not a question, so moving on to the question. Do you have a fence elsewhere? I thought I saw an image maybe at the playground.
Well, I agree, there is a fence. So this is Royal Lane. And so we have that seat wall, and it's got a planter on top, and then there is a decorative fence on top of that, which, just adds that additional height for safety and access control. And then as that disappears on the site, as it disappears, it becomes a decorative fence along its edge. Whether it has the same kind of geometry and decoration that's on the fence along this edge, or it's a standard picket. We're showing kind of a standard picket, here's fence in here. And as we get into the weeds on that detail, we can certainly develop that.
The other question I had about the parking, were there considerations about including trees in the parking area the area that is not underneath the building?
Yeah, so there's existing trees here. We are having to remove these because the building's right on top of it. They're not going to be able to make it there. I'm not sure if they're in great shape. Of course, there's some clumped around this tower here. But overall, we try to maintain that island here, and we've really maximized this buffer, and we try to maximize parking. So we haven't put any kind of islands in the middle of here with the approach of, we need to make sure we've got appropriate parking before we start, taking and putting islands there, which would be nice, but what's the priority of maybe putting a couple more trees in there or having the parking spaces? So there'll be that balance and that challenge of deciding what that is.
Do you have any more?
One
Go
quick
ahead.
one, the art, digital art, in that night view, and maybe I missed it when
Oh,
you
yes.
talked about it.
Yes, so the idea here was to create some art, and I think that was in our, trying to create that, some kind of art or, on the site. And so we, kind of looked at things a little bit differently. So what if we created, some digital art on the driveway along the bus route, and create these, some kind of neat patterns and, a digital spray here that could be conceptual for the community, some kind of, like flowers or whatever, just, having a little approach to it. So at nighttime it's dark, right? So we're, instead of just relying on the street lights, we have, some kind of digital art that enhances and illuminates that driveway and, activates the light rail station.
Thank you.
Park, obviously, there's not a parking ratio, it's being created, I guess, as we go along here. But on the drawings, it says that you have public parking and residential parking, but then it also says 164 shared parking and public parking
So-
spaces. How does that work?
So the concept that we have right now is that, we want to have the parking that's necessary to both lease the effort as well as provide DART what it needs for its operations, right? So in general, the folks that are DART riders are there from 8 to 6. And the people that live there maybe drove their car away. So what we have is we have some designated residential parking that we show in yellow. And then the rest is shared. There's plenty of spaces for DART's operations as well as the folks that are driving away from the facility during the day. So that there's a shared use there. And we didn't want 3 colors, but that's the idea right now. And
Understood. I appreciate that. That's a good answer.
we're gonna complete a complete traffic and parking study. We just haven't done it yet. To get more refinement for that in conjunction with to figure out what the right parking answer is for the balance. So it'll all be the same.
When you guys say 80 to and 110% AMI, what is that salary range? That family income range?
I don't recall offhand. I apologize. I'll look it up. Stand by.
Okay. The other question that I have is when the site goes under construction, all the sidewalks that are around the perimeter, are those all getting redone?
Well, I think for a lot of the stuff, a lot of the sidewalks that we have, essentially are the same location, for example, Grissom Road. There'll be some modifications to Royal, as the way we're, modifying this piece here. The circulation piece here, some of it remains, but the path is pretty much the same. So, we've got large areas that are not being touched, being affected. We wouldn't mess with them. They're there. Obviously, the improvements are in bad shape.
Okay, thank you. My last question is, obviously, there's a lot of utilities on the perimeter. I think both on Grissom and Royal, there's utility lines that are there. Do those plan to stay, or are they gonna go underground?
Right now, they're big.
Hard to answer your question, I'm sorry. Median family income is $105,600 a year.
That's a household of 4? One person?
Yes. So that's the median family income for HUD. For a 4-person family of 80%, that is $82,500 a year family income.
Thank you.
James, any questions?
I have some, one I'd like to kind of pick up on what Mark said. Is there an example of one of these? Is there something local that's similar to this? I was trying to think of something.
Are you asking architecturally or
Just the whole
Develop
scenario. Yeah, the whole program is something. Sure.
I am not aware. Servitas is somewhat breaking ground on how we want to put this together financially. And that gives us some extra flexibility, in how these things get put together. Like we are not planning to have any actual market rate units there, right? So there are certain things that we're restricted on with the A lines, but what we, as a concept, go for is, hey, this is just a multifamily apartment. It's not anything special because it's affordable. And the affordability, we are using the tax exempt financing and then some support from Dallas to reach the target rents that we need to maintain compliance with our 80 to 110. But this is a typical multifamily that you can see in market rate style.
Yeah, and the reason I was thinking, there's a whole number of reasons, but just, you mentioned the parking kind of coming and going at sort of peak hours, right?
Yes.
And if this is family, a very family oriented, you want to have children, some of the elderly, I could see there being some conflicts. I'm assuming there's a lot of thought going into just how that's going to flow in and out. And for some reason, it reminded me of the dorm where you have like commuter traffic and maybe students leaving early or something like that. But and so my question would be just, are you know, what thought are you giving to that, those conflicts? I would see those driveway points and then that dark space underneath the building, you know, I think paving. Anyway, maybe that's not a question, maybe it's more of a comment.
That's right. So let's, any questions to clarify what they presented, James? before we-
Yeah, that was a question of mine. I'll reserve that for later. I did have a question on the site. Will there be a retaining wall? And maybe you're not there yet, but as it slopes north, looks like about a 5-foot grade. Are there grade concerns at the upper northeast corner?
The northeast corner here. So, I mean, we're essentially maintaining those grades, you know, when it comes to the sidewalks and stuff. I mean, there's gonna be some issues, obviously, with circulation from the building that we'll have to address with ramping, how the steps are coming off, the thresholds. But overall, the grading around the front of the site should stay the way it is.
I'll reserve my other comments.
Thanks, James. Faisal, Michael. Michael, yes.
Couple questions. Looking at the site plan, well, number one, site is, so I think you're very progress. Two, looking at the site plan, to me, it looks like the open space, urban area, it looks like we're actually increasing it as compared to the existing buildings.
So,
I just want to confirm. Yeah.
So, you know,
thanks a lot.
So current conditions, it looks like it's maybe 85% improvements. Proposed conditions.
yes, so I mean, it's pretty close to the existing impervious standpoint into the pavement. You can see here that this has gotten a lot larger, so we've created some more pervious area along this edge. The reality is this, you know, this is staying the same. You know, this is what I'm saying, that parking edge line is really, honestly, the same spot. So we're doing that, you know, I guess here. So we're having a little bit more impervious area on the lawn, play area, and of course, the buffer.
Great. And it looks like the vast majority of that perimeter of the space is publicly accessible. I guess the exception of the playground area.
Correct. Yeah, that's all, accessible with the fence.
Yes. Then the drive, I don't think there are any proposed improvements this far north. I think they already have made this a cycle track along, I think it's actually in the northern drive.
But we didn't talk about the doggy park up there, but there's some, you know, shots in here for, improvements, creating that area for the dogs to run around in this lawn area underneath the light rail. That you can stop and, you know, create that place for them to run around.
But I think the improvements that you're talking about, and right where that park is, there's a new sidewalk. Yeah. Last question is a general question. I look at this and I feel like there's got to be opportunities to help make this happen through grants. Yeah, I'm curious if any grants have been explored either for dealing with infrastructure or. We have not pursued them at this moment. We have an incentive application with the city of Dallas, and I will tell you that Service Honest have applied for grants in other jurisdictions, state grants in Colorado, also in California with affordable housing there. So we also have a development that got incentive from the city under an art spot. So yes, we will pursue all avenues to include if there's any kind of EV grant that we could, you know, add an electric vehicle charging station or something like that. We go after all this as part of the full financing package. So it's typical for what we do. We're not there yet though, so I don't have any answer. This is what we do. Last question. The existing drainage infrastructure on the site, it looks to be
fairly adequate, so I'm assuming you don't have any issues with the deal with there.
Yeah, the infrastructure you said? Yeah, the infrastructure. So, I mean, there is out there, you know, there's columns that are gonna have, well, now, you know, to support that will be. So if there is any, as we haven't gotten into the weeds on that based on the conditions that were shown, the utility plan, but there is some areas where we're gonna have to modify the important, you know, maintain the range out there. You know, there'll be some impacts like we're gonna put it, so, right, that building down. But overall, this area, you know, pretty much stable.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michael Pfizer.
Yeah, I have just one question. Is the design far enough along that you know what is the clear plane on the first floor where we are parking underneath?
Yeah, so we have 15-foot clear underneath the structure.
15 foot
Yeah,
clear.
so that should give us enough access for loading and, you know, bring vehicles, you know, appropriate vehicles through there.
That's good. I don't have any questions, just some feedback.
Excellent.
It's in the elevation for the height, it should be some height on.
Very good. Thank you, Bruno and so we know that Maria and James have to leave. They have to leave by a certain time. So why don't we start with Maria and James?
Okay.
Okay, right.
Great. First of all, I want to commend the city and DART for this partnership and pursuing this effort. It's so needed in the city, and I appreciate the effort that you guys are putting into it. I have a couple of recommendations. One around the fences. I think you ought to think very carefully about security versus the perception that this is open and public and available. And so not having mixed use is probably a little different. If you had mixed use, you probably would want it to be a little more open and porous. But I think it should be considered, even the fences that are there that are decorative. They're certainly nice fences, but think about whether they should be there or not. And then the other thing about the parking, I think with the construction of the building, you're gonna tear out that parking. It's gonna be very hard to.
The asphalt for sure, you know, you're gonna but from a creating concept, you know, you're not gonna change that.
The configuration, yeah. I do think there should be some consideration, and I know this has a cost implication for permeable options and options that allow water to go through. It feels like a lot softer. The views a lot from you know, there's those geogrid systems where you can have gravel or some other system on top of it, and so it feels a lot softer. And those are the views that a lot of the people from the properties are gonna have. So I think that, as well as trees, and I know that parking is critical for you, for most people, but also there might be ways for you to fit tree wells where you can still keep the same number of parking. Maybe it's not an island, maybe it's one of the diamonds that the city might work with you on.
Yeah, I mean, we interested in doing that, and we were looking at it from a landscaping perspective. And like, the only concern is from landscape architect was saying that, you know, that after a while, the roads get, you know, bunched up when you have that limited space for them to get exposed. You know, so the diamond doesn't work that great enough. You could put maybe something more ornamental in there. You know, it's lighter. Maybe it's not a tree. It's more, you know, lower ground cover with a little.
Or if you combine that with the softscape you were talking about, the geogrid with gravel, then you have the permeability you need for the trees.
Yeah, if you did that gravel and it's kind of a grassy field parking lot, is that what you're talking about? You know, that's something we could certainly explore.
We can explore that, yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot.
Less household, right?
Thank you, Maria.
I agree with Maria, the partnership's great. I was thinking about your grant application, Arturo, Jack, you know, if there's an opportunity to group these, you know, into beyond this one to make your ask. Have you considered that already?
Well, I could,
And
to the city, no.
To a grant?
Yeah, everything we do with the city is localized and very specialized, but it may be a question for Jack in terms of something at the federal level.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, at federal level, having more of them opposed to one at a time. But that's not to be answered now. I would say to to the trees, permeable paving, maybe consider that if it's not all of the parking, a portion of it, I think it will soften that parking. I do have concerns just about of how that will work, with the shared public parking, with private parking, considering that there will be families living here, multi-generational, as you said, just having that be a very hospitable, shaded, nice environment, considering that's parking within its kind of a central court area. The Dallas Arboretum has done a nice job. I know it's more expensive, but definitely there are trees in their parking lot. That's the Dallas Arboretum.
We did the geogrid and gravel.
It's not individual wells, so, if you can think about the whole parking being permeable, I think that may be another way to think about it. Adequate lighting, underneath that, the building lifted up, I wish it could go to the ground level. In fact, as I look at it, I wonder if you even considered extending to enclose the entire site so that on the dark side, you also have a building edge. I mean, I like the green, but I wish it was more physically connected to that station. I feel like it just, in the rendering thing, it kind of feels removed from the station. There may be very good reason for that, but I wish it was more physically connected at the ground plane. And then I even thought, well, since the station's elevated, could it be connected right at the second level? Yeah, so that you have ground and circular. Now, the security may be an issue there, but I think that could be addressed. So that's just a thought. And then, of course, I know it's cost, and I know the answer to this, but even if the parking could go down a half level, just to kind of help mitigate the impact of that. I don't know how that would be done from a grade. Yeah, if you could go down with a surface, then it might help to sort of de-emphasize it and take it down. I'm thinking about the parking in the central area. I don't know whether that's something you're explored or not. And those are all my comments. I didn't want to just ask the Grant question about pooling these together opposed to jobs. Way to look at this as a bigger effort outside of this. And then, of course, arterial, I think more for the city, it's the approach. We've done some recent transit work in other cities, and it seems the pattern is the most stress for people, kind of like going to the airport, is the approach to the station. You have to walk to the station and well off the site. If the sidewalks aren't adequate, people have to walk through a parking lot and get there. It's not you guys, but definitely thinking about that as we consider getting around the city. Great help.
Thank you, James. Mark, would you?
Sure.
Would you follow up?
Yeah, I feel like we're all sort of innovating together, right? This is the first time the city of Dallas has done this. You guys have done it. First time we're looking at something like this. So kudos to you guys for taking this on. We need more people in the city of Dallas like you to work with these partnerships to get this done. This is an extraordinarily interesting area within Dallas. It's a cultural buyer. It's a multi-generational buyer where you're probably going to have grandparents living with grandkids and their parents in there. And you're in the middle of an industrial area also. And then 3 blocks away, you're starting to get into really expensive homes. So there's just a lot of stuff that comes in to this area. One of the things that I really worry about, some of these are your influences and off-site influences, is because of this buyer and what we believe is going to be the reduction in parking, you're going to have a ton of people walking. It sounds like that's sort of the emphasis of this walking to DART, walking to a lot of the local businesses and restaurants. I'm concerned on the sidewalks on the perimeter of the site. I think we need to have those at least 8 to 10 feet in width. That was my question earlier, like, are we going to leave the existing sidewalks in place? Some of those are only 4 feet on the back of curb right now, or 5 feet, it looks like, along Royal. So I would just ask you guys to look at the best efforts that you can to make it a very pleasant walk on the perimeter of the 2 public streets. That's extremely important to get people around. Yes, those 2.
These are rather wide, more I think they are around.
Yeah, well, and they could be just maybe it's Grissom, yeah, and they're close to the back of curb. So just putting our best foot forward when we're looking at that. The other thing, and I know this is something that you all cannot do, but this site, even with the best efforts that you're gonna do from the sidewalk, is still disconnected. There are no sidewalks in this entire neighborhood along Royal. Most of the time you're walking through parking lots, most of the time you're walking through, if it is a sidewalk, it's on the very back of a curb on a very dangerous street. I would ask the city of Dallas, if this project is going to be successful, how do we start to look at a better overlay for this area, either with the bond or through grants, to improve walkability in this corridor? And that's something that I think we need all the way along the road, yeah, to the east and to the west in there. And that led me to my other question, is just the Royal Lane frontage of your project. It looks like it's more the public face of your project. That's where you have the entry, the office, the indoor family activity area. I was a little concerned, and I wanted to ask you guys, with the playground and the lawn space up on Royal, that's an extremely busy street. I know the fence is there, but you think of emissions from cars, you think of the noise from cars. It's not a pleasant place to play outside. It's not a pleasant place to sit there. So I don't know how you look at your site, but you might think of the best place for kids to engage. And I don't know if that corner is the best place on your site plan. I don't know where the optimum place is. I just know that that is a very loud, traffic-filled space, that does not seem soothing to the play environment or having a space that's calm during the day.
So even if we're offering it with landscaping and creating.
That's not gonna work. Noise pollution, diesel from cars and all that stuff. You got the high wire lines that are right there. So I didn't know if there's a way that you could actually take that building and move it closer to Royal and get more open space somewhere else. I'll leave that up to you guys, but I think it's something that we need to think about as far as the outdoor user to this space. And then two other comments that I have. One is looking at low impact development options. I really love the linear park space that you guys are doing in the back right there. With the rebuild of the site, I would really encourage you guys to look at that, potentially collecting a lot of your stormwater runoff from your parking lot into that space as a sponge. So having a biofiltration system in there, instead of crowning it and have water run off, I think it's very important that we look at our best practices. And I think that's a fabulous space maybe where you can implement something like that. Then the last one, I probably missed it in the sidewalk comments, is the intersection at Grissom and Royal Lane. When you go on Google Earth and you look at that, none of the sidewalk paintings are left on the street going from your site across to the other side. Maybe a part of this project and the goodwill of this project is to repaint that intersection for the crosswalks, because right now, if you're a user, it doesn't even show up.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, right there where it's number 3. Yeah, it's really, really hard to delineate, and especially if you have a multi-generational community, you're going to have users that are much older. You're going to have grandparents, you're going to have visibility issues and things like that. So I think just putting our best forward, knowing sort of the age range and users and the ability to absorb disabilities that they have. So,
Does the city have a policy for these intersections? Or they?
No, they just need to be painted so there's clear visibility, not only for the user, but also for the person in the car. They need to be striped or restriped.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But you can do some things enhancing with pavement too, which are.
Yeah.
The pavers that, it's easy to
There's a
rest, it's less maintenance, right? And they can enhance that edge. It kind of slows people down when they go over something that has a different.
There's great things that are done with paint now to make us look more sort of fitting in. And what it'll do, it'll help your project to sort of act like your project is also reaching out to the community.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, super complicated project. My fingers are crossed that in a couple of years, you guys are breaking ground and super successful with this.
It was a great success for it. It was area too. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Good comments.
Yes, I want to echo my colleagues in saying thank you for taking a chance on this kind of project, and I think it's really exciting that there's nothing like this that anybody can think of anywhere else. I mean, it's a real opportunity to truly think literally outside of the box. And I think that there's a lot going on, and I appreciate that the primary concern right now is just getting affordable housing on the site, but I want to return to the idea of exploring mixed use concepts, if not for this one, but for some of these future projects that you have on the books. I have a hard time with the idea that we would be trying to bring, purchasers from the outside of this building. And maybe this is just somebody who, has a 10-year-old who needs a haircut and ran out of bread for a sandwich for lunch. You know, I think that your client base is within this building enough to have like a small barber shop, a small convenience store, a small, bodega, something like that, where you don't even need to think about parking as much because, especially if it's multi-generational and client, families, you're gonna have people going down there every single day just to get the things that they forgot on their last shopping trip. So that's my main comment that I'd like to bring up is that you have this opportunity with this type of project to come up with really surprising and unconventional concepts to apply. And I know it's all time and money.
I'm accounting here, one of the things that during our concept phase we thought about, because we have an elevated concrete deck, when parking is no longer such a driving factor, we can redevelop the first floor.
Great.
And have that full integrated experience that you're talking about.
I think that's great.
Short term, that's a much larger challenge.
Sure.
But we do have the optionality later.
I think that building in that philosophy and those infrastructural moves now is really smart because it's such an urban project that's, and I think it's hard in Dallas because we're just sort of like a suburban city that's grown into an urban city.
Yeah.
But it still feels a little bit suburban in a very densely industrial urban type of setting where I think that those kinds of amenities would be really useful and a catalyst for future development. So generally speaking, I understand where you're coming from. I think it's great nonetheless, but that is something that I would urge you to think about in moving forward. I think it's a really great project and I'm excited about it.
Okay, Lauren? Okay, first of all, you also have my thanks, but also my condolences. And I appreciate the presentation because I did look at this before our meeting today, but I did not see, the first glance, it looks like a fairly conventional, residential development. It is the farthest possible thing from that. And I see nothing but conundrums in every single aspect of this project. So again, this is a heck of a puzzle you've taken on here. In summary, I would say that the concern we've got here is that you appear to be trying to achieve or required to achieve a situation where you're kind of all things to all people. And you're doing it on a limited budget, with a limited site, in a very unique part of town, I think, inserting a residential, an important necessary residential element into an area that doesn't really have that, doesn't really seem to welcome it. And you're doing it with a revenue model that's limited before you even get started. What you get to charge, so we already know that. We don't know who's gonna live, we don't know anything else. We know you're not gonna get about the money you're not gonna get. So that's a challenge. And so I've just got a couple of things, and I haven't possibly think these through, and I could possibly spend the day going over them. So I've got a few high points I thought I might touch on. First off, we'll go back to the mixed use thing, counting on that. But the element there I see that might be the most use to you, maybe you to think about, that revenue is not limited. And a balance of something where you are not rent limited with things where you are might help this thing pencil a little better, even though that's not the short-term target for this project. I think for perhaps for long-term viability or short-term viability in particular, I don't know that I'd take that off of the table. The other thing I would say in terms of urban design, which is really our job here, that when we see a project like this, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of times we're looking at the connections and, okay, you're the example. Here's what the subsequent, what you do is going to set a tone for subsequent nearby development. I don't see subsequent nearby developments that relate to this very much. I think we are so far ahead of the curve for, pedestrian movement along places like Royal Lane Drive and all. I'm not sure that will be achieved within the lifespan of this building. That's a big change. So that all gets me to my sort of quick recommendation is, I think I would focus my efforts a little bit to make some things really shine and instead of being spread out quite so thinly all the way around the site. So, so my thinking is, like it or not, but because it's transit oriented design, the development, because it's affordable housing in the city that finds for affordable housing very difficult to do anymore. It really is a situation where I think people are going to live there because they can get on the train and go to other parts of town really easily without even having to have a car and come back to this part of town and have a place they can afford to live in, which is all the more impetus for providing certain basic services very nearby that may not be readily available. So it seems to me like the place where people will be the most important element of all of this certainly is not along Grissom here. And it's not actually along Royal because as we kind of talked about, that Royal Lane through here is a long way from being pedestrian friendly, no matter what you do right there. I wonder if this connection between the coming and the going of this development, if we go ahead and just buy into the idea of the people that this is sort of an island that may cause a spread of other development, but for the foreseeable future, people are going to be coming in. This is where the action is. They're coming and going through here, either to access services nearby or to live there. And so, is there more that can be done here? Can your partner, the DART, take this bus stop and put it on Denton instead of on this side of the rails, so that you can make this, so that we don't have to have buses going up and down between those roads all the time. Let that activity move over to the larger street and allow you to do something much more pedestrian and urban design friendly over here to connect up, make a special connection between new development and the DART station, and let this be sort of the start of something different for this part of town. That's very nondescript.
So we can hear what about more, basically more.
Yes,
You know.
that's right. That's where your playground goes.
Make that a true park.
Yeah, like
So connect those up, make these really cool, make it where you can cross
Oh,
over
okay.
without worrying about getting run over by a bus.
We do that in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, this makes me think of Mockingbird Station where I park on one side,
Yeah.
as I go across over there kind of thing. And then you got kids and stuff here and these folks, there's where the opportunity is, provided you can offload the needed bus traffic. We appreciate it. So that's the big
Separate a little bit of the park, it's kind of a race table, maybe one.
I don't even know that.
I think, again, we've got a street right here.
Yeah.
Still adjacent to the station, and we haven't looked at it yet. Okay, I think this I would spend less money,
Yeah.
less limited money on these connections, make them nice, make them decent. But well, but that's the idea. Along here, maybe some of that, if we can move that traffic over or divert it, so that this all becomes a developable area, for the whole thing, so you pull up and you get off the train, or off of the bus nearby, and you walk under the tracks and all, you've got something really kind of special happening there. Because I don't care how special you try to make that, it's gonna be kind of what it is. trees are good, don't do nothing, but maybe we don't put quite so much effort into some of these things. But let this anchor us on one side, maybe something else down here, and really do something in there. That's a quick thing. I've got one other comment, but that's,
Before you go forward, I did talk with Jack about it before, and all of this, bus stops that are existing do need to stay. So that's not, we didn't ask, that's not.
Okay.
That's,
So it would have to move that.
Jack,
Jack?
got to say something. Is that true, Jack?
Yes. We double checked it and, we need, I think we've got 6, bus bays there and we need all of them. I talked to our bus planners to see if there was a possibility of reducing, but all the bus bays are used here.
But Jack, would there be an opportunity to maybe look at locating those on Denton Drive, for instance, on the other side of the station?
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
that help. That would create a much better opportunity to connect those two, which I think is kind of what this is about.
Sure.
Kind of what this is about, just something like that. And the last thing I will mention real quick, and if I can find the image, because it's moving, it's a shell game. Oh, here it is. Right here. You know, I'm gonna have to get on you about this. This floating building on, a big huge floating building with minimal size, utterly unadorned pilotis, as we like to call them in architecture, just columns. Is sort of inspired by the Dark Bridge across the street from it. I just think looking at a dark, and you even show it, like, looking at this dark sort of cavern behind all your landscaping with, I mean, do you even need parking screening requirements with that design there? I've never seen it just left open that way.
Actually,
It's screen.
there is a requirement, and I believe that we're actually limited to the height of the screening of parking.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some limit, you've gotta have a percentage of open. Right? With the, you want the fire and smoke coming out the sides, and that's part of the podium, requirements. But I would say, again, this is part of the public realm, this is the interconnection, the third dimension interconnection between the people using the space and the architecture, and I think let's just put it this way, you've got many opportunities to make improvements here. I would suggest this. And stop there.
Great. With it. But,
Feedback.
yes.
I was wanting to actually say the same thing. I actually love the project, especially that it is all 3 bedrooms. Because I don't think anybody else offers that. I know it's going to be very successful. And I know some of the people that are working with them. I actually had exact same feedback that you mentioned on the bus route, because I felt that if the project moves closer to the station, it will be a lot better product, but DOT has limitations on it, they need minimum number of bus stops. I have a different thought on it, which we can run by DOT later on. That effort is that instead of running that bus bay, because they need the bus space, if you can consider like a big U-turn, we already have a space over there that's big enough, and wrap the 2 bus bays pretty close to each other on the north end of the project. Yes, consider like a big U-turn that takes the bus back out. What it does is, the reason I think that operators might object to a bus stop on Harry Hines across the bridges, because once you get off the bus, they need a safe passage back to the station, and then the tracks come in the middle. Right now, everybody is on the east side. So,
It's didn't run about there.
if you put the U-turn on it, then you can put the bus bay back to each other, everybody kind of gets off, and there's a public plaza in between the 2 lanes that brings people back. I'm just saying, explore that.
I'm sorry, I don't follow. You're saying what you're saying, but would you outline?
What I'm saying is, instead of bringing it over here, if you put the bus stops here, taking those people safely from here back to the station is a concern, which DOT might have.
Right.
Well, but you have to lower class level that it has.
But if you put it back to back like that, with bus bays on both sides, it allows them to have their 6 bays, and they basically come out and you can use all of this space coming in. Now, if suppose it doesn't happen, one of the things I would like to recommend is, please check, because on the backside of this, you're gonna need a 5-lane, which you cannot have more than 50 feet, right? So I'm concerned about fire protection over here, a bit like these. This right over here is gonna have to end up as a 5-lane, which would require 45-foot radiuses and 46-foot base. The cost of that is so tight, I want to mention so that you please consider that, right there. Another comment slash suggestion that I have is that this is where the trash is, you have 3 curb cuts. Are you intending that the trash guy is gonna go in and then back out, or he's gonna make a turn and then back in?
You see the, take the bin,
Yeah.
pull it out, and pick it up with the truck, make sure the operator flip it over to the side or.
Well, see, because in this case, if he has to flip it over the side, most trucks are front end, right? So that means the truck is.
He's gonna turn it here, or he could roll it out and pick it up along the edge.
So, the reason I'm mentioning that is because Dallas does not allow you to go head either back into a space or head in and then back out of the space. So please take a look at it, because they will not allow you to do.
We can stay on the street and pull it out and then lift it over the path.
Yes, that you can do. So, and I would basically also gonna say, basically, work that out sooner on the 5-lane issue. Other thing that I know is very early, but some other people mentioned it, staging of this job would be very critical, because as you are building it, you are impacting parking, God is gonna have a minimum required space requirement, right? So how the buildings get turned over, as you need your COs, how the parking will go, just think about it where you are being designed, so that you are working on it, way early. And, the reason I also mentioned, that's why I asked about the floor height, because I think that it has to be high enough that your 5 lanes criteria can be met. And then, staging, shape parking, what we talked about. There was one other thing that I had in mind. I think that's it. I have some other thought, but I don't know.
You can come back.
If it comes back.
Everybody can understand that movement of the bus.
I think that is what the best, if God accepts it, it will give you a lot of flexibility, right?
So the actually don't be really, sound correct.
Well, I think what Jack's point is that he wants to have minimum 6 bus bays, unless they can operationally reduce it from 6 to 4. Right, so then where do you put the other bus bays and have ability for people to come back? But I think we both think the same thing, that there should be a better solution, bring it in tight, it will work better. Oh yeah, one other thing, I think somebody asked why this parking is aligned the way it is. I think the reason it is because as you come out, you wanna be able to see your destination, because if they're aligned like that, then it's less safe from people to be, so it is actually done the way it should be done.
It also fits with the picture.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that.
Very good. I love the fact that there's 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unique.
I think there's a big need for it, and most people.
We agree with that, sorry, but.
All right, Michael, comments, please.
Yeah, I think, most of my comments have already been covered, so if I'm supposed to go back to the topic of grants to look into, I just did a little bit of work. So looking at the program for housing permits on the program, leading edge, it's 400 million. IRA. I just see the building blocks as something that could be really a case study for the city. We're looking at issues citywide with affordable housing. We're also looking at how do we reduce impervious surfaces? How do we address climate resilience? How do we address energy efficiency? I just feel like this, with its connectivity to transit, the needs of this neighborhood in general. I generally bring up low impact development because improving water quality on the site it's a great thing to do. This site's not going to solve all the issues for Dallas, but it can serve as a template for what can be done on other redevelopment projects. And that starts stacking more opportunities into this and starts to elevate your status when you're looking at potential grants. So I just encourage the exploration of what are those grant opportunities and how can they be applied to this project. I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I remember in Conrad. That was regarding, I recommend that you do a traffic study up early that determines the occupancy based on time of day, especially in the morning hours. You're gonna need that for multiple reasons. Question will come up. How many people park? We know 23%. But at what time? When is the peak demand? And then how it will play with your future, parking needs, but not just future parking, but even during construction. I recommend you do that now. That way you can, when you are designing it, you need to know how much space at a minimum you need to leave for the vehicles. So that occupancy study by time of day. It's in our plans.
Good. All right, Michael, yes, good. All right, so Tom, Bruno, thank you again. I think you heard I hope that the feedback that you got today was positive, positive for the project. Sometimes you don't like what you hear because it will mean more work going back to the drafting board. But in the end, remember, in the end, the goal is not to make your life difficult. The goal is to make the project successful. And if it is successful for you, it is also successful for the city. Ultimately, because this is the first of 5, is that right? First of 5. Wouldn't it be great if this became the standard for everything that came after you? So that I think we have the opportunity here to do that. So we heard again lots of good points. My take is very much aligned with everything that you heard. But to recap salient elements here to me, we discussed mixed use, probably not likely, but you brought up in your initial proposal, you included in the initial proposal daycare. And given that these are 3-bedroom units and that this is close to DART, station, public transit, it makes a lot of sense. Understanding will trigger a re-studying of the financial proposal. But a full intelligence on this standpoint of urban design, I'm not talking urban design as form only, I'm talking urban design as the way that the city works, the way that the city performs, the way that the city serves its citizens. But daycare makes a lot of sense. So it will not only serve the folks living in the building and in the neighborhood, but it would also activate the street. I'm assuming that the daycare could happen along Grayson Lane. So we strongly encourage the city, DART, and Servitas and PGAL to revisit that topic. Second, on a very granular way here, I would consider, I would at least test the idea of grabbing the whole footprint. And Bruno, that's for you. Grabbing the whole footprint and shifting it by 10 or 15 feet east. I know that will mess up the parking layout because et cetera, but guys, very unlikely that the layout will remain exactly the same after it's all done and built and messed up with, you will have to restripe that parking anyway. If we move it 10 or 15 feet to the east, and considering that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 curb cuts, of the 4, 3 are active curb cuts for cars, and considering that we have only 160 spaces, 164 spaces, 3 curb cuts, it's overkill. We don't really need 3 curb cuts for 160 cars. That's not required for volume, for capacity, for flow. So, what if we reconsider Grayson Lane here, remove the curb cuts that we have along Grayson Lane, shift the building closer, not too close, I'm talking 10, 15 feet closer, we still have, from back of curb, I'm guessing we still have 20 plus feet of setback, which is appropriate here. We don't want a building on the back, on the property line, because there's nothing else in this neighborhood like that. But if you do that, and if you, by removing the curb cuts, you drop in maybe the daycare, Tom, along this side, and the spaces that you lose here, which are about 10 or 12 spaces, we can find those spaces over here. We can find 4, 8, 12, 16 spaces, not all along in a single row, but pockets of 4 spaces each. 1, 2, 3, 4. Leave that alone. Leave the landscape in and out like so. The buffer is a good idea. I'm talking minimal tweaks here, but what would it accomplish? A stronger presence on Grissom. So this becomes the cornerstone of other developments that possibly could happen along Grissom and elsewhere in the neighborhood. Less about suburban nature, more about urban nature. Additional uses on the site to serve the residents, to serve others in the neighborhood in the form of daycare, who knows what else. Kate mentioned a small store to serve the residents. That playground that you heard from us, probably not in the right spot because this is the busiest corner of all. So maybe that playground shifts somewhere along Grissom. And you, at the same time, you preserve you incorporate, hopefully, the relocation of the bus lanes over here to somewhere there or here, somewhere along the west side, closer to DART where it wants to be. Bus lanes here, bus stop here, not really great for folks who live here. Imagine having 4 or 6 buses idling here and your bedroom is right there. That's no fun. However, if buses are here, there are no units adjacent. So that makes your development better, a better connection to DART, from buses to DART for passengers, etc. So that idea seems to make a lot of sense to relocate buses along here and free up additional sidewalk for additional space for landscaping along the building. So I think that's without going over other comments that you already heard. These are granular suggestions that again involve shifting the footprint, reconsidering access points, curb cuts, and hopefully working with DART on the bus lane, working with the city on increasing the diversity of uses on the site. I think all of that together would make the project and would place the project proposal a step up from where it is now. It is already great because we are taking a parking lot and making it active. So that's a wonderful initiative for DART, from the city that you took on. But let's take it from a 8 to a 9.5. So anything else, Mark, Norman, Faisal, Michael, that you didn't cover? Arturo, or before we go to Arturo, Bruno, Tom, anything that you would like to comment? Any questions that you have for us?
Thank you. Yeah, that's I think the best feedback we've gotten from board.
Great. And feel free to come back. Arturo, will you summarize for us?
Of course, and I'll send these to you around the day or early next week. Appreciate it as well. First recommendation, the panel recommends thought be given to the fencing and where it may be necessary and where it may be removed out of the forest public realm. Number 2, the panel advises that chicken scratch the start. That trees be added in the parking field to add much needed shading with consideration of techniques on allowing for root structures to thrive under the parking field by considering permeable paving in certain areas. Number 3, the panel recommends exploring ways in which the development can be connected visually or physically to the DART station. 4, the panel recommends additional thought be given to exploring options for delivering necessary parking, perhaps in a structured format. Number 5, the panel recommends crosswalk improvements and perimeter sidewalk with the considered to make sure they are safe and can accommodate the get to and from our state. Number 6, the panel advises that the play areas an open lot area location be reconsidered to remove it from a busy, loud, moving roadway location. Some of these I'll actually combine because there's some similarities between some others that I'll read here coming up. Number 7, the panel recommends that low impact development strategies be considered for the site, specifically for the area along the northwest corner of the site, and in general to help combat the island and stormwater challenges. Number 8, the panel advises that mixed-use concepts be considered now or in the future, particularly for those uses or services such as a daycare facility that can benefit residents, dark users, and the local community. A mixed-use development can serve as a larger catalyst for change in the area. Number 9, the panel recommends efforts be focused on the area between the DART station and residential area to create a special connection between the two with enhanced open space and playground components located here. If the dark bus circulation could be relocated elsewhere, or it could be reconfigured. Number 10, the panel advises the open ground floor perimeter of the building be given more attention to help better activate the sidewalk and buffer the parking area. Number 11, the panel recommends additional thought be given to internal parking circulation conditions and access locations to accommodate the necessary emergency service and loading requirements. Number 12, the panel advises that a traffic study be used early to determine optimal parking requirements and potential shared parking opportunities. And lastly, number 13, the panel recommends exploring shifting the building footprint east and revising access points along Grissom to allow space for ground floor uses such as an acre facility or retail space and a stronger ground floor presence. This would also allow for placing the play areas of residential green space in a quieter corner of the site.
What was that comment about structured parking?
That came on early on. Yeah, that was regarding.
James.
Okay. Did Arturo capture all the comments?
I think so.
Yes. Anything else? No? Good. Bruno, Tom, thank you again.
Yes.
For coming. Thank you for doing work. We wish you much success. We'd love to see you. I too know that site well. I have a friend who has a shop on Grissom Lane. He fixes cars right there. So I know the site very well. Every time I'll drive by, I look, what is this open parking lot doing here? So now we know what is waiting for you guys to come and fix it out. So well done. Thank you. With that, I think our session is adjourned. Until next time. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for your time.
I said this.